to Women Tech Makers Montreal podcast. I hope you are enjoying snow. I'm not enjoying it, but I really like, however, to be here with you today. I'm Stefania. I'm the lead organizer of Women Tech Makers Montreal, and I'm here with...
Hello, everyone. I'm Leticia, and I'm also organizer from Women Tech Makers Montreal community. And I'm super happy to be here on this third episode, talking about a topic that I'm super interested in. And yeah, I'm super happy to be here.
So, Leticia, are you enjoying snow?
There's no snow here. I'm sad.
For people that don't know, Leticia is not right now in Montreal. She's in Italy. So no snow in Italy. I'm from Italy. I'm like crying inside because I would like to be in Italy right now. But yeah, and I'm very happy that Leticia is doing this podcast with us, also with a different time zone. So today we are going to explore topics about AI and healthcare. I'm really curious about this topic because I'm also work in the same domain, so I'm really, really interested. And we have an amazing guest with us. So instead of introducing you, I would like you to introduce yourself.
For sure. So hi, everyone. Thank you for the invite. I'm really excited to be here to chat about healthcare and AI. So I'm Zoé. I am an AI lead in a biotech startup here in Montreal called Biorica. I have a master's in computer science and mathematics, and I am more specialized on the computer vision side of AI. Before that, I used to work as a clinical research assistant here in Montreal too at CRCHUM, working on a lot of research projects on healthcare and AI. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to chat with you about all of this.
So let's start with the questions. So what inspired you to pursue a career at the intersection with healthcare, AI, and technology?
Okay, so both my parents are doctors, so I wanted to work in healthcare for a long time. But then, in high school, I kind of realized that I had more of an engineering mind rather than medical, I was really curious about how everything worked together, building Legos and stuff like this, just building stuff with my hands. So I kind of went that way and pursued like an engineering degree in computer science. And then I specialized myself into computer vision and medical imaging. And then when I got here in Montreal, I found an internship where I was able to work on research project, like concrete research project on just between healthcare and AI basically. And so I was like, it was kind of a revelation for me. I was like, okay, that's super interesting. And then I realized I'm kind of glad I got back on my feet. I'm still working in healthcare and AI and in a domain I'm passionate about. I just took another road to get there. But yeah, that's kind of the story.
That's interesting. And I really like the fact that for me, when I was working in research, sometimes I had that feeling that it was too soft and that I didn't have the chance to build something that was useful. And I can say also in my case, apply research and also in healthcare is extremely important because we know that we will have an impact. So one thing that I'm curious about, I know that there are a lot of research and also discussion around the fact that the research, the products, especially in healthcare, have been done mostly for men. So the study have been done mostly for men. So you as a woman, as a researcher and also as an AI expert, how is your journey when you think about healthcare and women and develop product in healthcare and research for women?
That's actually a really good question. I was kind of appalled at first when I saw all the research that was coming out, but all of the research basically was based on I had male subjects and nobody was really studying the female body and hormone fluctuations and so on. The female body is so complex and nobody was really researching it. I don't know why, but Yeah. So, yeah, that's also one of the reasons I wanted to kind of explore AI. I mean, I'm really passionate like about research and making a change and making like people's lives a little bit better. And being a woman in tech can be really challenging, like getting there, finding like being taken seriously by peers, by on senior execs and so on. It's really tough, but also I think it gives us like an outsider perspective sometimes. And I think it's kind of a strength, actually, being able like to ask the questions and not be afraid of really, I mean, making a change, and also like challenging what has been done before. Bringing diversity to AI is kind of crucial to build like trustworthy AI models. We need to bring people from all diverse backgrounds, cultures, ethnicities, and to be able to really capture like the complexity of the real world, I guess. So yeah, it's important not to kind of mold the data into the hypothesis you wanted to confirm in the first place, but kind of see where the data takes you and not be afraid to kind of really deep dive into it and find what you are going to find, let's say.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this is a topic that we will ask further on, but we have this like gender bias. So this, when we have like more woman research, we can like basically avoid some bias with having that. And so in this way, like, did you have some specific challenge? Be something related to that, like woman research, some specific challenge you faced in your career and how you overcome it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've faced some challenges in my career for sure, but I think like one of the hardest ones I've had to overcome was like when I graduated from like my master's and I was looking for a job. So yeah, job search is kind of painful as a new grad. So I was kind of having a hard time, you know, selling myself to future employers and really kind of emphasize my strengths, what I bring to the table, you know? So I was kind of suffering a lot from imposter syndrome. I mean, yeah, a lot of women in that kind of domain suffer from it, I guess. I mean, it's kind of recurrent, but yeah, and I felt like I wasn't really qualified for a lot of things. I mean, I was kind of admiring, you know, people like who were senior execs, like at, I don't know, Google, Meta, whatever. And I was like, whoa, they are so smart. They know so many things. Like, I cannot compete with that. Why would they hire me? Like, kind of putting myself into these type of situations. And it's hard, like selling yourself as a new grad. You don't have experience yet. It's hard to kind of, I mean, the motivation speaks a lot to see if you're motivated for something. But also, I mean, they don't have any proof that you can do the work too. So yeah, but also after that, I kind of took a step back and changed my reference a little bit. And I saw that, yeah, maybe I'm not the most qualified candidate out there, but I'm also more qualified than some other people. Like, it's important to see kind of where you stand on the regular scale, let's say. And yeah, I think it kind of helped, kind of taking a step back and being able to kind of see, okay, I don't know everything. I mean, nobody does, but I also know a lot of things and I can bring something to a company. And so now it was more like, how do I show them that I can bring something? And so then you find mentors, you find allies, you find people to help you in that kind of process.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting also because I remember also from people from Google, very like high position, they had a similar challenge. They still face similar challenges, especially with AI, because we know that AI is something that is changing a lot.
Of course.
Right now, since we have also a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge, like not only researchers, but managers or other people that were not involved before in the AI world, but right now they use AI and they require more and more. I think it might be challenging in any way because it's like you don't know what is their point of view on AI. So maybe I don't know, 10 models, but there is a specific model that you don't know and that they know. So there is always this sort of, am I enough? Should I know more stuff? But I think it's more on the trying to make sure that the information that you have, you can convey in the way that you make you shine. And at the same time, it's also, and this is a message that I try always to say, is like, no matter how is different AI, how many models we can have, but if you have the general knowledge, you can understand also the new models. So maybe you don't know exactly that model, but you can understand the architecture behind, so you can then understand and use that model, which is always interesting. And at the same time, for me, it's comforting. It's like, okay, I can survive. When we talk about AI and healthcare, how do you see how this collaboration will work in the next 5-10 years? What will be different in 5-10 years? Are there any things that probably won't change because AI cannot really transform those or cannot support those? How do you see AI and healthcare and the dynamics in the 5-10 years?
I mean, AI is gonna help on a lot of things, like on development of, personalized medicine, for instance, finding new molecules to cure diseases. It's gonna help, go there faster, I think. But also, I think we're kind of at a crossroads here. So all the models we are creating to kind of resolve a lot of issues regarding healthcare using AI. I mean, we talked about it before, like there are a lot of biases, whether it's gender biases or cultural biases, ethnicity biases. I mean, a lot of AI models are actually built on data that is not representative of like the complexity of the world right now. And so I'm kind of afraid that if we are not careful when building these models, maybe it will emphasize some gaps that are already here, If we build like AI models to cure certain diseases and we don't take into account that, sometimes redheads don't respond the same way, to anesthesia or a lot of things, like they are a higher pain threshold, for instance, or other ethnicities. We are going to build some great stuff with AI, but we are also going to emphasize a gap between the access to healthcare between certain communities and certain, genders or and the others that are going to have a better access to healthcare thanks to those AI models. But the other one is going to stay right where they are now. It's kind of important to take all that into account. And I think a lot of companies don't actually realize that. And I think that could be like a dangerous path. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
Honestly, what I see right now, we emphasize a lot the fact that probably with AI we will go, because we don't know exactly, but we will go faster. One thing that for sure there is the issue, the challenge in data, because it's everywhere. It's not only in healthcare, so especially in healthcare, but also the fact that we don't know really if, for example, this will be beneficial for the whole humanity. For example, I would expect discussion about, if we use AI at some point, we will be able to decrease cost for healthcare. So more people can have healthcare and it will be faster for them. So we will also provide services. But it is something that I usually don't hear. And I'm like, so why are we really focusing on AI and healthcare if we cannot highlight the beneficial points for the whole humanity? It's something that I think we should talk more and more about that, especially as developers and researchers in AI and healthcare. Try always to find the way to make sure that not only we are doing products that are good, but they are also for goods. So basically to solve not entirely, but at least a big part of delays in healthcare and extremely high costs in healthcare. Because we are lucky here in Canada, the majority of cures that we have are handled by the healthcare that is not private. But for sure, if we think about AI and healthcare, there's a big portion that is made in the United States, and we don't know exactly if what we are developing, what we hope to develop, in any case, will have an impact on the cost and efficiency and also the rapidity of the service that we will provide to the people. So it's something that I usually don't hear a lot about that. For sure, I know that there are also a lot of ethical concerns. I'm pretty sure that Leticia has a question about that.
Yeah, but before that, before this meeting, I was reading some articles about the topic. I found a research saying that they basically analyzed 133 AI systems across different industries and found that about 44% of them showed gender bias. So it's a lot, and it's something we need to, continue improving. Like we need to have more, for example, we need to have more women working with this so we can change this scenario. And in this same article, I found something related to healthcare. They were testing AI for healthcare, and they realized that when women use some AI-powered systems to diagnose illnesses, they often receive inaccurate answers because the AI is not aware of symptoms that may present different in women. So I found this really interesting because I know that we have this gap, we have this gender bias, but I never thought about this healthcare part. And I found this super interesting. And connecting this, I have a question related to that. So how do you balance the need for innovation, like create new things, use AI for things, with ethical concerns when develop AI for healthcare? While AI can improve diagnostics and treatments, it also brings, as we were talking before, also brings ethical challenge. So what do you think about it?
I think it's a good question. I think a lot of companies and organizations tend to kind of rush into the process sometimes. I think it's really important to kind of state some ground rules at the beginning of a project, like kind of have some ethical guidelines and framework into what we want to do. So there are, WHO has one. You can correct me, Stefania, because this is more your area of expertise, but I think they do. And to kind of keep in mind that the patient is at the center of what we are doing. A lot of projects with AI regarding healthcare can be about, optimizing the schedule of doctors or the schedule of ORs to kind of increase the usability, and so we can schedule more surgeries in a day or stuff like this. But this is actually kind of to improve the bottom line of the hospital. It's not really beneficial to the patient. It can present some risks for the patient. People don't spend as much time with the patient as they would. So they kind of feel like rushing, so they can miss some things, some details. So it's really important to keep in mind that the patient is at the center of all of this. We want to improve their condition, their health, and not just kind of the bottom line of an organization, a hospital. So if the patient is at the center, I think it's also really important to keep in mind that kind of to broaden our vision and see, okay, so what are the types of patient that I can be, interacting with? Are there more white, Asian, Black, other ethnicities, other condition, male, female, children? It's important to keep in mind that you are not basing your whole project, your whole model onto one just specific part of the population. And I think a lot of women are actually realizing that now. And so they are kind of starting to be advocate for their own health, because a lot of women kind of realize that the research is not based on them, and what may works for men may not work for them. And I think it also starts by being an advocate for yourself and not being afraid to tell your doctor or your health practitioner, hey, are you sure this is the way to go? Are you sure that this treatment was actually kind of approved for someone like me? And it's tricky.
It's a tricky law. I mean, if we think also about when we talk about medicine in general, healthcare, we think about sample, we think about some groups, but then the person can be totally different, can have a different story, can have different conditions, family conditions. So I think it's important, not only like on the day-to-day, if we go to the doctor and we disagree, or we feel that there's something, like we should not be afraid to say, okay, I feel that something is not working. I'm not convinced. And we need to see other doctors. No shame. We should not be like guilty. I think it's, especially because the doctors, sometimes we forget that the doctor is also a human being. He can have his day that is particular, and then we have probably schedule an appointment in that day. And so, I mean, we are all humans, we are all different, and this diversity should be not only like we should raise the voice when we see that something is not working for us, and for sure also when we develop anything or we use AI, we need also to think about the users. When you use any tool and you see that it's not reflecting who you are, you should not feel guilty to say, hey, I want to say to the developers that I don't feel represented, because it's the only way we have also to make sure that we hear different voices and we can build for the majority of people out there. So yeah, I really like this. Thank you, Zoe. I really like this discussion.
Yeah, like consider this scenario, like Zoe, you mentioned something about frameworks or tools, like, and I repeat this question as also for Stefania that also works in this area. So I don't work with healthcare, so I'm an enthusiast here, curious about a lot of things, okay? So do you use any specific tools or methods to handle with these issues, or even considering like sensitive data like medical records, images and so on? Like, do you use something like how you handle with this? And so consider that leaks of sensitive data are a problem. What could be a solution to use this data without leaking it? I don't know if you know about I was searching a lot of things about this, and I found something about decentralized protocols like federated learning, basically train models locally and share own weights with added noise. And this can be an approach, like how do you handle with this kind of sensitive data, this kind of gender issues and so on?
Yeah, that's a good question too. You have a lot of good questions. I mean, the data I'm used to working with, my job, is not that sensitive, I'd say. It's kind of anonymized before it comes to us, so we don't have to be, extra careful into anonymizing everything, removing like the names and everything. But we kind of separate like the data into different categories, let's say. So we kind of anonymize it by removing the names and all of the things that could be linked back to you specifically. But we keep like certain tags, let's say. So gender, we know if the sample was acquired on a male or a female, like an age range, if it was between, 0 to 10 years old, or 20 to 30. So we kind of have a perspective onto the kind of data that we are working with to make sure that all the age ranges and ethnicities and genders are represented within the data without having your name clearly stated in a line of the data, So we are kind of doing that work to anonymize everything, but also kind of keeping some data for us to make sure that they are the least we could have. I mean, there's no such thing as no bias, but to reduce the bias as much as we can possibly.
Yeah, and I can add, like, I pretty do the same thing. So basically, yeah, in my case, I try to avoid any particular individual data. I always work in sample just to make sure that I have the representation of the population that we are studying. As Zoe, I don't have, like, usually you don't work with the initial report. You have always a version that is anonymized. In general, you have some policies. So if I think about the United States, you will have the HIPAA. That is a policies that companies, public sector and private sector need to comply. I think here in Canada, it has a different name, something weird like PIPEDA, PIPEDA, that it's similar to basically the one in the United States, but it also covers bank information and other personal information. So we must think always that as researchers and developers, we really don't care about the particularities of the data, because like a name is a name. We only need basically the content. So for example, if we are handling disease, it will be more on how those diseases have been developed, or how doctors will write about those diseases. If we want to analyze, for example, how many records we have for that particular disease, if we are analyzing if a particular disease is increasing in our country and so on. So honestly, as a researchers and developers, we really don't need that kind of data. Then there are other measures of protection, such as have computers that will not be on the general internet. Usually they are on a private network, or they are also outside of any network, they are offline. And usually you have also systems of different connections. So basically it's very hard then to know from the external where everything has been generated. And the information is not assembled in just one place, but into different places. So it's also really hard to have all the pieces of the puzzle to make sure that you have then the information. So it's a lot of different layers of protection. Is this enough? Probably not, because however, hackers and other cybersecurity threats are out there. And as AI is improving, they're also improving. But the most important part to retain is that basically we need to think about the importance of the data, the importance of the patient, and make sure that whatever we do with the data, even if we don't have any anonymized issue because everything is already anonymized. I really hate this word. Even if we cannot already recognize the patient behind, we should always think about how we convey, how we transmit this data, so that we as professionals, we put extra layers of it.
And have you heard about the federated learning? I think it's a new approach, new research, where models are trained locally on device, sharing only the weights instead of the raw data. So maybe this can be something that can help in this aspect for sensitive data.
I think so. I think it's kind of hard. You will have some challenges probably between, like, among countries, because they all have their protocols and also rules, internal rules. So already it's not something that is very common. So you need to, however, explain to the management and also people on the direction why you want to do this kind of stuff. And at the same time, I think it's also very hard. Like, it's something that I can see on the private sector, because they have more freedom sometimes. On the public sector, you have so many rules, and sometimes they are very, like, all the rules, that is very hard to try to do this kind of stuff. It's not impossible. In some case, I have some case where it has been possible, but sometimes it's the time you spend trying to have all the documentation and convince other people to make sure that everything is safe, you have already developed in another way. So yeah, I mean, I think it's the future, probably. It will be the future. It's also true that everything is migrating into the cloud. So we will need also to think about how federating learning will be used in that context, with professionals that have different age ranges and different knowledge. So we also think about, We can develop a lot, but we also need to communicate with other people that probably have not all the knowledge that we also have here. So, okay, let's change a little with something maybe easier. So, if we think about women who would like to enter a career in healthcare and AI, so I will say, what are the suggestions that you can give to them? What are the challenges that they should expect so that they can prepare ahead? And anything that you think about it.
Well, if women want to go and just start a career in healthcare, the first thing I would say is please do. You're welcome here. Welcome to the club. We need people like you, really. So please, don't be afraid, persevere, and don't doubt yourself so much. A little doubt is good, too much. I mean, you're gonna question everything you've ever done. It's not good. So a little doubt is always good to kind of make sure what you're doing is right. It kind of gives you perspective on the work you're doing. But and also we need women in healthcare, in healthcare AI, basically, because I mean our brains are wired differently than men's, and what we bring to the table is non-negotiable. We bring an other perspective on things. I mean, we have to, if we want to build something for everyone, I mean, we have to include everyone at the table. So you're gonna face some challenges, of course. Find some allies, mentors, peers that you trust that are going to guide you, advocate for you. Make sure your voice is heard, even if there are too many people talking. Make sure, you find someone that you trust into getting you a seat at the table. It's really important. There are a lot of mentors, allies. You just have to get to know people, and you're for sure going to do it. You're going to master this. So,
and for these people that are interested in healthcare, and when I say people, I include myself because I started doing some projects related to that. But one thing that I found a challenge is to find data related to healthcare. So basically, I started working on a personal project related to cancer detection in images, and I realized how challenging it is to find this type of data. I found a data set, but there's no enough data to train a model. So do you have any advice for people that are starting projects related to that, where we can find data for that? And now it's my curiosity. You as for example, as a company, you have access to data, right? To use, for example, medical images and so on. But how it works, for example, for
people with no access to internal data.
Exactly. Because I also tried to contact companies that work with this type of cancer, and they were not open for this thing. So I know, because it's sensitive data, it's something difficult. But do you have any resource or something you can recommend?
There are some databases with medical data, kind of. I mean, I only work with images. So when you speak of cancer detection, that's basically one of the things that I kind of know how to do, let's say. But there are some databases like DBase. I don't know if you've used it.
It's a specific for a specific cancer or something like that?
No, it's not. It's kind of a general database with a lot of things. So there are some stuff for skin cancer, but also some MRIs. Also, so I work with pathogen and viruses. So there are also some pictures of that. And sometimes we use that data to kind of see what else is out there, let's say. So we do have our internal data, but sometimes we like to go and see if everybody has the same type of data. And I think there are some databases out there, but because it's sensitive data, sometimes it can be hard to get. Research some of them, and maybe I'll send you some links if I find something.
Okay, thank you. But when you are like working on research, you have access to this type of data, like, or you need something like a partnership with.
I think it depends.
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, at the CRCHUM, we had a lot of patient data, so that was not a problem. But for my current company, since we're a startup, it's hard for us to gather data. So we have like some partnerships with like external data providers that would gather a lot of data for us and then send it to us. I mean, we have to pay for that type of data, of course. But there are some companies that can help you into gathering the data sometimes if you're like a small structure. But I mean, in hospitals, there's data like all around. It's pretty amazing, but yeah, you have to have access to it. So
I would say other thing that you can do is also you can see, especially on the United States, you have some companies that with a form they can release you some of the data because it's already anonymized. So you can ask to them. And also there are also some research projects. Sometimes they give you portion of the data. Is this enough for what you want to do? I'm not sure. Especially for images, I think it's harder than textual data, but I would say probably there are cancer institutions in the United States that can provide you with some data, but you need to ask them, you need to fill a form and also describing your project. It might also be the case that whatever you develop, then you need to agree that it will be for them, like you are not the owner because the data was not yours. Something's doable. It's sure that since it's healthcare data, again, it has to be protected, so it's kind of tricky. Okay, so I think we can do our closing remarks. So thank you, Zoe, to have been here. It has been a very, very interesting discussion. Probably I'm also a little biased because I really love this domain, and I also appreciate your presence. We had I had the opportunity to talk with you also offline. So I was like, yeah, I'm so happy she's here. Try to be professional here. So I invite all the listeners to make sure you catch up with the other episodes that we have. So you can listen to us on Spotify, but also on our YouTube. There will be more and more tutorials on our YouTube channel. Some of them will be done by our guests on the podcast. I will not reveal right now who they are, but make sure you will be there when they will be posted. We will basically spam your LinkedIn and Instagram and anything is out there to make sure you will have this news, that we have new tutorials. We are in 2025, so this means that basically we are going to have our 10th anniversary on April 5th with a big event in Montreal. So we are preparing the website, but you can find some information already on our social. The only thing that I will say, just mark your calendar, April 5th, 2025, Montreal. We will be there, and it will be a very big event, and we are very happy to do this every year. I will say thank you to Letizia from Italy.
And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Zoe, being here today with us. I think this topic was amazing. So we can reduce gender bias in AI, bringing more women in the field. So we are doing that. When technology is built from one perspective, it's like looking at the world half blind. So more women in AI means better in more inclusive systems. So this is what you're doing here. So yeah, thank you so much. I love this topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to both of you. Thank you so much for the invite. Yeah, I was really excited when Stefania contacted me to be a part of this episode. Yeah, it's so interesting. There are so many things that we didn't discuss, but yeah, we discussed
for another episode. Why not?
For sure. Why not? No, it was really fun. Thank you so much for your welcome. And yeah, I'll gladly speak about it, like talk about it for hours. So if you want to keep the discussion going, just for sure send me, I don't know, a message, and for sure will.
Find Zoe on LinkedIn. Spam her with a lot of messages and questions. Keep the conversation going. Yes, I like it.
Yes, that's how things move. Yeah. It's important to talk about this. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. It was really fun.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Ciao.